One scene, 10 seconds long, looped in my imagination until I fell asleep, for 7 nights straight. On the 8th morning I woke up and the world had rearranged itself. The job offer came, the text came, the money came. This is the Imaginal Act protocol, and before this night is over, you will understand exactly how to use it. I want to tell you something that will sound strange at first, but stay with me because this is the heart of everything. The entire mechanism of manifestation, everything you have ever read about consciousness and creation, everything you have struggled to understand about why some desires come easily and others feel impossible. All of it collapses into one simple practice. One scene, repeated, until it becomes more real than the room you are sitting in right now, not visualized casually while your mind wanders. Not wished for, not hoped about, looped, deliberately, with feeling, until you fall asleep inside of it. And when you do this correctly, when you understand what is actually happening in those moments before sleep, the three-dimensional world has no choice but to conform. It always does. It always has. It always will. Let me be very clear about what I am saying to you. I am not speaking metaphorically. I am not offering you a technique to feel better about your circumstances while you wait for them to change through some external means. I am telling you that there is a specific state of consciousness, a specific kind of imaginal act, that when sustained with the right quality of attention, rearranges the outer world as surely as a seed becomes a tree. The law is impersonal. The law is absolute. And tonight you are going to learn how to use it. The law is this: consciousness is the only reality. Your awareness right now in this moment is the sole creative power in your world. Not circumstances, not other people, not the economy or the government or your past or your age or your bank account. Consciousness. And consciousness left to itself will always harden into fact the assumptions it holds most consistently. Not the assumptions you state out loud, not the assumptions you write in your journal, the assumptions you live in, the assumptions you fall asleep in, the assumptions that feel so natural you do not even notice them anymore. This is not positive thinking. This is not the law of attraction, as it has been watered down and sold to you by people who do not understand the mechanism. This is the ancient teaching, the pearl of great price, the narrow gate. You do not attract what you want, you become it. And you become it by occupying the state of consciousness that would be yours if the desire were already fulfilled. Not tomorrow. Not when conditions improve. Now, in imagination. And then you fall asleep in that state. Hear me carefully now, because this is where most people fail, and they do not even realize they are failing. They think they are practicing. They think they are doing the work. They sit down, they close their eyes, they visualize for 5 minutes. They see the scene, they feel good about it, and then they open their eyes and they go right back into the old state. They spend 5 minutes in the wish fulfilled and 23 hours and 55 minutes in the state of lack. And then they wonder why nothing changes. They say their affirmations in the morning. Wonderful. And then they check their bank account 17 times that day with anxiety. They visualize the relationship. Beautiful. And then they compulsively check their phone to see if the person texted, and when they have not, they spiral into the old story. They imagine the job offer. Perfect. And then they go to work at the job they hate and complain about it, and feel resentful and tell their friends how stuck they are. Do you see what is happening? They are spending a few minutes in the new state and hours and hours and hours in the old one. And consciousness does not care about your 5-minute visualization. Consciousness cares about the state you return to most often. Consciousness cares about the state you fall asleep in. Because the moment just before sleep, that hypnagogic state, that is when the subconscious is most impressionable. That is when assumptions sink deepest. That is when the seed is planted in the most fertile soil. This is why the Imaginal Act protocol works when everything else has failed. Because it is not about convincing yourself during your waking hours when the rational mind is strong and doubt is loud. It is about saturating the subconscious at the threshold of sleep when the gates are open and resistance is low. You loop one scene, one simple scene that implies the wish fulfilled. You do not try to visualize the entire journey. You do not try to figure out how it will happen. You simply select one moment, one short loop that would only be true if your desire were already a fact, and you repeat it over and over with feeling until you drift into sleep wrapped inside that reality. And you do this for nights in a row, not one night, not 2 nights, long enough for the new assumption to become natural, long enough for the subconscious to accept it as self-evident truth, long enough for the old state to loosen its grip and the new state to become your dwelling place. Let me tell you about a man I knew. He had been unemployed for months. Good man. Skilled man. He had been applying for jobs, going to interviews, networking, doing everything the world told him to do, and nothing was working. He would get to the final round and then be passed over. He would be told he was overqualified or underqualified, or they went with an internal candidate. Month after month, his savings were dwindling, his confidence was eroding. And he came to me exhausted, not from lack of effort, but from effort that produced no fruit. I asked him one question: what state are you falling asleep in every night? And he was honest. He said every night before sleep he would lie in bed and his mind would spiral. He would think about the bills. He would think about the interviews that went nowhere. He would replay the rejections. He would imagine the worst-case scenarios. He would check his bank account one more time on his phone, and then he would eventually fall asleep exhausted in that state of fear and lack and frustration. I said to him, "You are doing the work during the day and undoing it every single night. You are planting seeds in the morning and drowning them before bed. Your waking efforts mean nothing if you fall asleep in the wrong state, because the state you fall asleep in is the state you are impressing upon your subconscious as truth. And your subconscious does not argue, it does not judge, it simply accepts and externalizes." So I gave him a single instruction: create one short scene that implies you are employed in the work you desire. Not the interview, not the job search, not the offer, the done deal, the established fact. A scene from your life after the employment is already secured, and loop it every single night until you fall asleep inside of it. He was quiet for a moment thinking. Then he said, "I would be sitting at my desk, in my new office. There is a nameplate with my name on it, and I am picking up my phone to call my mother to tell her what time I will be home for dinner, because I am finally working close enough to see her more often." That is the scene. Maybe 8 seconds long. That is what would be real if the job were already mine. "Perfect," I said. "Now loop it. See yourself sitting at that desk. Feel the weight of the phone in your hand. See the nameplate. Hear yourself saying, 'Hi, Mom, I will be there by 7. Feel the satisfaction, the calm, the normality of it. This is just your life now. This is not a future event. This is tonight. You are there now. Loop it. Over and over. Do not let your mind wander to how or when or if. Just return to the scene. Return to the feeling. and let yourself drift into sleep while you are sitting at that desk. He went home, and he did it. That night, and the next night, and the night after that. He told me later that the first few nights were difficult. His mind would start the loop, and then doubt would interrupt. The old anxious thoughts would try to creep back in, but he would gently, without judgment, return to the scene. Sitting at the desk, picking up the phone. "Hi, Mom." The nameplate. The normality of it. Over and over until sleep took him. By the fourth night, something shifted. The scene started to feel more natural. The anxiety started to feel like the interruption, not the scene. By the seventh night, he said he fell asleep within 2 minutes of starting the loop. He was not trying anymore. He was just there, at his desk, in his new life. It felt inevitable. It felt done. On the 8th day, a Friday morning, he woke up to an email. A company he had interviewed with months ago, a company he had written off, was reaching out. There had been unexpected changes in their team structure. The position had expanded. They wanted to offer it to him. Could he start Monday? The salary was more than he had been asking for, and the office he discovered on his first day was 17 minutes from his mother's house. He called me that evening from his car. He was laughing and almost crying at the same time. He said, "I am sitting in the parking lot of my new office. I just called my mom to tell her I will be at her house by 7 for dinner." And then he said something I will never forget. He said it did not feel like a miracle. It felt like, of course. It felt like this was always going to happen. It felt like I just remembered something that was already true. And I said to him, "That is exactly right. That is the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Not shock, not surprise. Of course, inevitability. You did not manifest a job. You became the man who has that job. And the world, which is nothing but your consciousness, pushed out, rearranged itself to reflect the man you became." Now let me take you deeper into the mechanism, because when you understand why this works, your faith in the practice becomes unshakable. Think about a star you see in the night sky. That light you are seeing right now in this present moment is not the light the star is emitting right now. It is old light. It left that star years ago, decades ago, sometimes centuries ago. It has been traveling through space all that time. And only now, tonight, is it reaching your eyes. Your current circumstances are exactly like that starlight. They are not showing you your present consciousness. They are showing you old consciousness, old assumptions, old states you were living in weeks ago, months ago, sometimes years ago. The circumstances you see around you right now, the job you have or do not have, the money in your account or not in your account, the relationship that exists or does not exist, all of it is old light. All of it is the externalization of assumptions you held in the past. And this is why most people stay stuck. They look at their current circumstances and they react to them. They let those circumstances dictate their state of consciousness right now. They see the lack and they feel lack. They see the problem and they dwell in problem consciousness. And in doing so, they simply perpetuate the old assumption. They keep sending out the same signal. So the circumstances, the old light never changes. It cannot change because they are still occupying the state that created it. But the moment you understand that circumstances are always showing you the past, not the present, everything shifts. You realize you are not a victim of circumstances. You are looking at old, solidified consciousness. And if you change your present consciousness, if you occupy a new state right now and persist in it, new circumstances must emerge. Not because you are forcing them, not because you are manipulating reality, but because circumstances are always and only the reflection of consciousness. Change, the inner and the outer must follow. always, without exception. So when you loop that scene before sleep, you are not trying to change your circumstances directly. You are changing your consciousness. You are occupying a new state. You are dwelling in the wish fulfilled so completely that your subconscious accepts it as fact. And once the subconscious accepts it, once the assumption is planted deep, it begins to harden. It begins to solidify. And then in ways you cannot predict and do not need to orchestrate, the outer world conforms. Think of it like a river. If you stand in a river and you try to push the water upstream with your hands, you will exhaust yourself, and the water will keep flowing in its original direction. But if you change the landscape, if you dig a new channel, the water will naturally flow where you have directed it. You do not have to push each drop. The river follows the path of least resistance. This is what you are doing when you loop the scene. You are not pushing circumstances around with your waking efforts. You are digging a new channel in consciousness. You are establishing a new assumption so deeply that everything in your world naturally flows toward it. The phone call comes. The opportunity arises. The person reaches out. And it all feels easy, inevitable, natural. Because you are no longer swimming upstream. You have changed the direction of the river itself. Here is what this looks like in the actual texture of your actual life. You have a desire right now. Maybe it is employment. Maybe it is a relationship. Maybe it is money. Maybe it is health. Maybe it is something so specific and personal that you have not spoken it out loud to anyone. Good. Hold that desire in your mind for a moment. Not the lack of it, the fulfillment of it. What would be true if you already had it? What would you see? What would you hear? What would you do? Now distill that into one simple scene. Not an elaborate fantasy. Not a long narrative. One loop. Maybe 10 seconds. Maybe shorter. A moment so simple and so specific that it could only be true if the desire were already fulfilled. If the desire is money, maybe you are checking your bank balance and you see the number you want to see, and you smile and close the app because it is just normal now. If the desire is a relationship, maybe you are lying in bed and you reach over and you touch their shoulder, and they are there, warm and real and yours. If the desire is health, maybe you are running up a flight of stairs effortlessly, and you feel strong and you feel free. One scene, specific, sensory, implying the wish fulfilled. Now commit to it. Tonight before you sleep, you are going to loop it. You are going to lie down, close your eyes, and step into that scene. You are going to see it from your own eyes, not watching yourself like a movie. You are there. It is happening now. You are checking the balance. You are touching their shoulder. You are running up the stairs. And you are feeling what you would feel if it were real. Not excitement, not desperation, not hope. The quiet satisfaction of something that already is. The calmness, the normality. This is not a future you are imagining. This is tonight. You are in the scene. You are living it, and you loop it. You see it again, and again, and again. And when your mind wanders, and it will, you gently return to the scene. No frustration, no judgment, just a soft return, back to the loop, back to the feeling. Over and over until sleep takes you. And you do this tomorrow night, and the night after that, and the night after that. Not because you are trying to make something happen, but because you are occupying the state of the wish fulfilled. You are dwelling there. You are becoming the person who already has this. And as you persist in that state, as you fall asleep in it, night after night, it sinks into your subconscious. It becomes your new assumption. It becomes the ground you stand on. Now here is what will happen, and you need to be prepared for this. In the beginning, it will feel like pretending. It will feel like you are lying to yourself. The scene will feel thin, fragile, less real than your current circumstances. Your rational mind will interrupt with doubt. It will say this is silly. It will say nothing is changing. It will say you are wasting your time. Let it say those things. Do not fight with your doubt. Do not try to convince yourself. Just return to the scene. Return to the loop. The mind will quiet down when it realizes you are not engaging with it. And after a few nights, something will start to shift. The scene will start to feel more solid, more real. You will start to anticipate it. You will look forward to the moment when you lie down and step into that reality. The old anxious thoughts before bed, the mental spiraling, the checking and obsessing, those will start to fade. Not because you forcefully stopped them, but because you have given your mind a new dwelling place, a new home. And it is a home that feels good. And then one night, maybe the 5th night, maybe the 7th, you will loop the scene and you will realize you are not trying anymore. You are just there. The scene is effortless. It feels inevitable. It feels like a memory, not a wish. And you will drift into sleep so naturally, so peacefully, wrapped inside that reality. And that is when you know the assumption has taken root. That is when you know the subconscious has accepted it. That is when the law is set in motion. Now the test comes. Because this is not a fairy tale. This is not a promise that once you loop the scene, your life will become easy and nothing will ever challenge you again. The test comes when the three-dimensional world, which is still showing you old light, still showing you old assumptions, pushes back. And it will push back. There will be a moment, perhaps you are already in one, when the circumstances seem to contradict everything you have been assuming in your imagination. You have been looping the scene of employment, and you get another rejection letter. You have been looping the scene of love, and the person still has not texted. You have been looping the scene of abundance, and an unexpected bill arrives. This is the moment when most people abandon the practice. They say, "See, it is not working." They say, "I knew it was too good to be true." They let the outer circumstances dictate their inner state. And they go right back into the old assumption. And the old assumption, now reinforced, continues to create the old reality. But you are not going to do that, because you understand what is actually happening. Those circumstances are old light. They are the echo of the old state. They are not proof that the new assumption is not working. They are proof that the old assumption is still externalizing itself. And the only thing you need to do in that moment is hold steady. Do not react to the old light. Do not let it pull you back into the old state. Return to the scene. Return to the loop. Return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This is not weakness. This is not delusion. This is the hardest, most powerful thing a human being can do. To stand in the midst of contradictory evidence and persist in the assumption of the wish fulfilled. To see the rejection and still loop the scene of the job. To see the silence and still loop the scene of the love. To see the bill and still loop the scene of the abundance. Every single time you do this, every single time you choose the inner state over the outer condition, you are deepening the new assumption. You are making it more permanent. You are making it more real. And here is what nobody tells you about this process. The waiting is not passive. The bridge of incidents, the unfolding of events that bring your desire into the three-dimensional world that is happening while you persist in the state. You do not see it yet. It is under the surface. It is being woven together behind the scenes. Conversations are happening that you do not know about. Decisions are being made by other people that you are not aware of. Circumstances are shifting in ways that will only make sense in hindsight. And then one morning it arrives. The call comes. The text comes. The check comes. The opportunity comes. And it comes in a way that feels natural, not supernatural. It comes in a way that feels like, of course not, oh my God. It comes in a way that feels inevitable, not miraculous. And you will look back at the nights you spent looping that scene, and you will realize that you were not hoping for something external to change. You were becoming someone new, and the world, which has no choice but to conform to your consciousness, simply reflected back to you the person you became. I have seen this happen so many times now that it has become predictable. Not the specifics, not the how or the when, but the pattern. The person who persists in the assumption of the wish fulfilled, who loops the scene with feeling night after night, who refuses to let circumstances dictate their state, that person always, and I mean always, sees the outer world conform. Sometimes in days, sometimes in weeks, sometimes in months, but always. And the timing is never the issue. Because once you understand that you are occupying the state of the wish fulfilled now, once you feel the reality of it in your imagination, now the waiting ceases to be torture. The waiting becomes a quiet confidence, a settled knowing. You are not waiting for something outside of you to happen. You are living in the consciousness of the thing now, and consciousness is the only reality. So in the truest sense, you already have it. Let me say that again because it is so important. Consciousness is the only reality. The scene you loop before sleep is not less real than the room you are sitting in. It is more real. Because consciousness is primary. Consciousness is cause. The three-dimensional world is secondary. The three-dimensional world is effect. When you loop that scene with feeling, when you occupy that state with persistence, you are not fantasizing. You are creating. You are impressing the subconscious. You are planting the seed, and the harvest is guaranteed. So tonight, before you sleep, you are going to begin. You are going to select your scene. Keep it short. Keep it simple. Keep it specific. One loop that implies the wish fulfilled. And you are going to lie down, close your eyes, and step into it. You're going to see it, feel it, hear it, live it. And you're going to loop it over and over until sleep takes you. And you're going to do this tomorrow night, and the next night, and the night after that. And you are not going to check for results in the three-dimensional world. You are not going to obsess over whether it is working. You are not going to let doubt talk you out of the practice after 2 nights. You are going to persist. You are going to commit to 7 nights minimum. 7 nights of falling asleep in the wish fulfilled. 7 nights of dwelling in the new state. 7 nights of becoming the person who already has the desire. And on the 8th morning, or the 10th morning, or the 15th morning, you are going to wake up and the world will have rearranged itself. Not because you forced it, not because you manipulated it, but because you changed your consciousness. And consciousness is the only reality. And reality has no choice but to conform to consciousness. It always does. It always has. It always will. I am going to leave you with this. There is a passage that says, whatever you desire when you pray, believe that you have received it and you will have it. Most people read that and they think it means believe that you will receive it in the future. But that is not what it says. It says believe that you have received it, past tense, already done, not coming, already here, in consciousness. Right now, when you loop that scene before sleep, you are praying in the true sense of the word. You are occupying the consciousness of the wish fulfilled. You are believing not with your mind, but with your whole being that you have already received it. And the subconscious, which does not distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is physically real, accepts it as fact. And once it accepts it as fact, it must externalize it. The law is impersonal. The law is absolute. So begin tonight, not tomorrow, not next week. Tonight. The scene is waiting for you. The state is waiting for you. And the life you desire, the job, the love, the money, the health, the freedom, it is not out there, somewhere in a distant future. It is here, in consciousness, in imagination. And when you occupy it, when you dwell in it, when you fall asleep wrapped inside of it, the three-dimensional world bends, shifts, and rearranges itself to match. One scene, 10 seconds long, looped until you fall asleep, for 7 nights. And on the 8th morning, you wake up different. Because you are different, and the world is nothing but consciousness pushed out. Change the consciousness, change the world. This is the law. This is the Imaginal Act protocol. This is how you create your reality. Go and do it. Not as an experiment, not as a test, but as someone who understands that consciousness is the only reality and that the scene you loop tonight is as real as anything in your three-dimensional world. More real, in fact, because it is cause and the outer world is effect. Loop it, feel it, become it, and let the world conform. Thank you for walking with me through this teaching tonight. The Imaginal Act protocol is not theory. It is not philosophy. It is a practical, repeatable, lawful method that works because consciousness is the only reality. One short scene looped before sleep night after night until the assumption hardens into fact. The man I told you about sat at that desk in his imagination before he ever sat at it in the flesh. And when he finally did, it felt inevitable because it was inevitable. He became the man with the job before the job appeared. You have a scene waiting for you tonight. Something simple, something specific, something that would only be true if your desire were already fulfilled. Maybe it is 8 seconds long. Maybe it is 6. It does not matter. What matters is the feeling. What matters is the persistence. What matters is that you loop it with such attention, such presence, such saturation, that your subconscious has no choice but to accept it as reality. And here is the beautiful part. Once the subconscious accepts it, you do not have to figure out the how. You do not have to plan the steps. You do not have to manipulate people or circumstances. The bridge of incidents unfolds on its own. The right people appear. The right opportunities arise. The right doors open. And it all happens so naturally that when you look back, you will barely be able to trace the path. You will only know that you persisted in the state, and the state externalized itself as your world. So my final instruction to you is this. Go to bed tonight with intention. Do not scroll on your phone until you fall asleep. Do not let your mind spiral into worry or replay the problems of the day. Instead, make the last moments before sleep sacred. Make them purposeful. Lie down, close your eyes, and step into your scene. See it clearly. Feel it deeply. Loop it gently. And drift into sleep while you are living inside that reality. Do this for 7 nights. Give the practice a full week. And do not judge the results on day 2 or day 4. Do not check your bank account obsessively or refresh your email every hour or stare at your phone waiting for the text. Let the outer world be. Let the old light finish its journey. You are working in consciousness now. You are planting seeds in the fertile ground of the subconscious, and seeds do not sprout the moment they touch the soil. They need time to take root. They need darkness. They need patience. But they always sprout. Always. If you do not dig them up, if you do not abandon the practice because you do not see immediate evidence, if you trust the law, if you persist in the state, the sprout breaks through. The manifestation arrives. The world rearranges itself. And when it does, you will not be surprised. You will not be shocked. You will simply smile and think, of course. Because you have been living in that reality for nights now. The three-dimensional world was just catching up to where you already were. This is the Imaginal Act Protocol. One scene, looped before sleep, for as many nights as it takes for the assumption to become natural, and then the waiting ceases to feel like waiting. The state becomes your dwelling place, and the wish fulfilled becomes your lived experience, not someday, now, in consciousness, which is the only reality that matters. Walk out of here tonight, knowing that you are not at the mercy of circumstances. You are not a victim of the past. You are not limited by what has been. You are consciousness itself, and consciousness, when it knows what it is and what it wants, has infinite power to create. The scene you loop tonight is not fantasy. It is the blueprint. It is the seed. It is the cause. And the three-dimensional world is nothing but effect. Loop your scene, persist in your state, fall asleep in the wish fulfilled, and let the law do what the law always does. Harden assumption into fact. Turn imagination into experience. Bring the invisible into the visible. This is not magic. This is mechanics. This is how creation works. And you, my friend, are the creator of your world. Good night. Go and become. This is Neville Lectures.